Well, good morning, you guys. Thanks for showing up. You survived the hour change, or whatever it is, where you get that hour less of sleep. But at least it'll be great at night, where it stays light for a long time. So we kind of finally finished Romans 9, and you're looking through, and I think it was 16 weeks we spent on that. And so I thought, that's been such a long time. Let's go through a review of Romans 9. And being naive, I thought, let's shoot through that in one time just to review. And as I'm doing that, what we're going to do is a review. And you can look at that's a college semester, 16 weeks. So you look at your book, we're going to do the first paragraph. As I was trying to get it in one class, I realized, boy, my slide count's getting awful unwieldy. And I thought there's no point in just hitting highlight so fast that we don't actually comprehend anything. So this is all going to be review, but you'll swear it's not review. And it was interesting to me. So my wife, she's a teacher, and so it always, you bristle when someone gives you good feedback, but you're a stubborn ox and you want to do something else and you don't want to listen. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. As a teacher, she's giving me good feedback of how to improve something. Why keep being a stubborn ox? One of the things she challenged me to do was, this is a little confusing with who is Israel. So we're navigating towards 9, 10, 11 in Romans. It's all about Israel, ethnic Israel. What is ethnic Israel? That is genetic relationship to Jacob, dudes born from that bloodline. So you could join into Israel being a Gentile, but ethnic Israel would be genetically related to Israel. 9, 10, 11 is all about that and their salvation. And so who is Israel? We got to make this list. We did that several weeks ago. We're going to do that again today. We're not going to answer the question, what does it mean to bless Israel or curse? Because you notice the Bible refuses to be put into a box. And what we want is a little box without understanding it so that we can wield it. It's a lot better to understand it. And I would confess I'm not an expert in this, don't claim to be, but it's amazing. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning thinking about all sorts of things that I had to add to that list, and it's over 20. We'll see on a slide that is fascinating to start understanding what God is saying. And so as we move along, let's just read verses 1 through 5. That's this paragraph. I, this is Paul, am speaking the truth in Christ. I am not lying. My conscience bears me witness in the Holy Spirit that I have great sorrow and unceasing anguish in my heart. Now we could pause and ask, why? Well, the reason he has anguish in his heart is this. Here's the reason. Back to the text. For I could wish that I myself were accursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my brothers, my kinsmen according to the flesh. Let's pause there. I, Paul, am willing to give up my own salvation, echoing Moses from the Old Testament with Israel. For now he's talking about genetic or ethnic Israel. My brothers, my kinsmen according to the flesh. So this is not other believers. He's emotionally distressed that Jewish Israelites, ethnic Israel, by and large, has not come to Christ. That is not replacement theology. You cannot have replacement theology and Paul's sentiment in the same concept. So we have to realize that. Then we go to 4. They are Israelites, and to them belong several things. There's 8 things here. The adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the worship, the promises, the patriarchs, and from their race, according to the flesh, is the Christ, the King, who is God over all. And so those are the 8 things we're going to go through. The first one is just going to be they are Israelites, but go there right above verse 4. For the sake of my brothers, I would give my life for them. So I've been in a Bible study led by a replacement theology guy, seminary trained. Where does the mind go? Very interesting. Do I care about the lost? A very good statement. Do I care enough about the lost? I'd be willing to give up my own salvation for them. That's a great point. But does that have anything to do with Israel? No. Paul is not concerned about the lost. Gentiles. Right here, he's concerned about Israel. But if your viewpoint doesn't want that, it'll switch. Very interesting. So we're going to just kind of go through. Here's our objectives. We're going to spend a good chunk of time looking at Israel and then what it means to be a family, especially in the context of adoption, and then the law and promise. So some of this stuff is, we've got a lot more depth than we had when we went through it first. So we're going to go through these things. Israel is going to be the big one that we talk about here. We're working, yeah, go ahead.
I might be the only one in the room that doesn't know what you're talking about as far as replacement theology.
Perfect. So replacement theology, what is that? The big word might be supersessionism. Gentile Christians, believers, the church, us, after Pentecost, have superseded or replaced Israel. And so one of the analogies people use is, you have two trees growing. There was an Israel tree and they failed. They did not successfully bring the world to God. That's what they're supposed to be, a nation of priests, and they failed. Therefore, they are cut down, may or may not have a stump in there, but a new tree is planted called the church that replaces it. And so all the Old Testament promises for Israel, ethnic Israel, land on the church, and they bypass Israel because the church, us, have replaced Israel. So that would be replacement theology. And so that's a great question. And if you ever have a question, always ask it, because you're not the only guy in the room that's going to have that question. And notice like a Tucker Carlson or a Fuentes, and you can see there's a lot of anger towards Israel. You have to start with replacement theology before you can land where they're at, and have some semblance of saying you come from the Bible. Well, we'll leave it at that for now, but that would be a little synopsis of it. So they are Israelites. So you can see there's 8 things in here with verse 4. This is the main one we're going to camp on. I'm going to put them in a big black when it's one of these 8. But they are Israelites. Notice that's present tense. If Paul was teaching replacement theology, what kind of a word would he use there? They were, a past tense word. He's using a present tense word. Well, who are the Israelites? So what we're going to do is kind of define that. We're going to go back in time to Exodus. Exodus 12, you probably remember that when it's 12, verse 12, where I, Yahweh, will judge the gods, the little g Elohim. I will judge the Elohim of Egypt. That's in chapter 12. Now we're later in chapter 12 as we're trying to focus on defining Israel. Then he, which is Pharaoh, called for Moses and Aaron at night and said, rise up, get out from among my people. So this is as they're going to exit. Both you and the sons of Israel, go, worship the Lord, as you have said. Now the sons of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, and about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. So who is leaving Egypt? The sons of Israel. So this is Israel, or the sons of Israel are leaving Egypt. Egypt can be also a metaphor for chaos or against God, just as Babylon is. So if you think Babylon is merely a place with a tower, you can't understand metaphors. That goes all the way through Scripture. It's not just a place, just like Jezreel. A mixed multitude also went up with them, along with flocks and herds and very large number of livestock. Who's that?
The non-genetic.
Non-genetic Israelites. From the very beginning of the nation, is it strictly genetic, ethnic Israel? No. The term Israel does not exclude Gentiles from the very beginning. It's a mixed, they made a choice. This mixed multitude made a choice to do what?
Become Israel.
Yeah, they're leaving what they know. They're leaving their comfort zone. They're leaving where they're the minority people. They're leaving Egypt, but specifically to do what in this passage? Worship. Worship. Well, worship which Elohim?
The Lord, one true living God.
Remember what happened earlier in this chapter? The conclusion. I, Yahweh, am an Elohim. I'm the creator of the Elohim. I am a chief Elohim. I'm the only Elohim that exists in realm 1. I have judged and found impotent the Elohim of Egypt. So this group of people recognized that. We're ditching this garbage and we're going after Yahweh. But you'll miss that a lot, but it's right in there. So from the very beginning of the nation, it is not strictly ethnic Israelites. From the outset, this phrase, the sons of Israel, so they're telling you this at the very beginning, and then they don't tell you that every time they come to Israel, because you should know it by now. It's a mixed multitude. Number one, a mixed multitude chose. Mixed multitude chose to leave Egypt and worship Yahweh. Let the story define the terms, not your creed. So Numbers 1, we're going to continue. You know, there's the 5 books of the Pentateuch. Now we're going to count people in Numbers, very beginning in Numbers. And so this is the literal standard version. It's clunky, but it's just to kind of see some of this meaning, and as literal as they can get. Yahweh speaks to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the tent of meeting on the first of the 2nd month, in the 2nd year of their going out of the land of Egypt. So they spend a year dealing with Sinai, and now they're exiting out. There, well, who is this? This is the dudes who left Egypt. They're going out of the land of Egypt. So again, we're at the beginning, and how are they called? Take a census of all the congregation of the sons of Israel. Notice it includes a mixed multitude, but how is it defined? As the sons of Israel, a big congregation. Are they all ethnic Israelites? No. It's actually very simple. So we have to understand the meta-narrative, the big picture, the story. You can't understand meta-narrative without understanding metaphor. Go ahead.
So how could they number them according to the...
They would just start, let's say you joined our church, we'll start with you. You don't have an ancestry among us, it doesn't matter. And you'll see the same thing echoed in Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther.
Okay, so the mixed multitude got associated with specific tribes.
Yeah, like Caleb gets lumped into Judah. He's a Kenizzite. And so you got Ruth, you got Rahab. What is the big deal with Ruth? Your Elohim will be my Elohim. In. She's in. She's not out. She's not halfway. She's in. Because of who she's worshiping. Which Elohim is it? That's the definition. Why did you think it was Realm 3 genetics? We take our eye off what it's teaching us. So they can just start right here. Okay, I'm Bob, the first guy in here from whatever it was in Egypt. Or I might have been from the Ukraine. Who cares? You're in there. So meta-narrative, big picture, scripture. You have Satan fall, now you got the garden, and then Adam and Eve. You notice humans are always failing. So Adam and Eve, there's a failure. Then there's the flood, there's judgment. And then after the flood, you have Babel. And Moses, who wrote the book, Moses gives his big speech in Deuteronomy 32 about Babel. So after the flood, you have Babel. God says, spread out. No, we won't. And it's specific. We will not. We want to make a name for ourselves, being led by other gods, not following you. We're not going to follow you. You don't make a tower to go up. You make a high tower so that the deity can come down. That's a big thing to understand this stuff. And God says, okay, you want other Elohim? You've got them, sons of God, 70. Could be 72, depending on your translation, but 70 doesn't have to be a literal number. That's a number meaning fullness, comprehensive, all. 7 times 70. You see these kind of concepts, concept in a number. And so you've got the fullness of all the world now is under the sons of God. Realm 2 beings. These are hide-up dudes, not little demons. And they're in charge of a territory. All the world is placed under them. Deuteronomy 32 will get pinged from Romans over 10 times. So if you don't understand Deuteronomy 32, you're going to be lost in the New Testament. And you sure can't understand the kingdom of God, reclaiming and reversing what God did here. Notice Jezreel is the same thing. The seed, I've rejected you, Israel, Ephraim. But it's a seed. It will come back. That happened to everybody at Babel. Didn't just start with Israel. So here you have Peleg. These are the genetics, age of the guy till the birth of his son. Peleg, time of Babel. And then you got to Abraham. So he's chapter 12 in Genesis, right after Babel. But you got 250 years to get from the birth of Peleg to the birth of Abraham. And then to get to Jacob, whose name is Israel. That's going to take 400 years. But then that's just you got Jacob and or Israel. But then to get to Joseph, his son, to finally have the 12 sons, that's 500 years after Babel. So there's a 500-year gap before, and that's not a nation yet. That's 12 dudes. That is not a nation. And so then they come out of Egypt. So we're going fast in the big picture because we're looking at a meta-narrative here. They come to Kadesh. Notice that's the very south. And then they're going to go spy out the land. And they come to Hebron, Kiriath Arba. Who is Arba? Oh, the greatest among the Anakim. The giant dude. Yeah, he was a stud. You don't know what he did, but he was a big-time guy. And so they start looking, well, there's a boogeyman here in this promised land, God. You're sending, yeah, they're called Nephilim, giants. Numbers 13. So this is going to be 12 spies, went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin, or Sin, which is down here. They went up into the Negev, and it's V, the B is pronounced with a V, and came to Hebron. Ahiman, Seshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, are in Hebron, which is Kiriath Arba. Arba was the greatest among the Anakim. Anakim are Nephilim, giants. There's 3 of them still there. But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. Let's go at once, don't delay. Well, they're supposed to go right, or this is before the 40 years. Really 38 years of wandering. This is before that. Then, the men who had gone up with him, the other 10 spies, said, no, we are not. Hey, Joshua and Caleb said, let's go. We are not able to go against the people. Why? Well, they're stronger than you. So again, our focus here is the meta-narrative, but we're pausing to understand the definition of Israel, because that's our main point. Who are the people of Israel? The mixed multitude. But notice how they don't tell you a mixed multitude every time, because you should have known that from the beginning. But they didn't kick those people out. They're there the whole time. But what are they called? Israelites. Why? Oh, they're worshiping Yahweh. I thought it was genetics. And so these spies, the 10, brought up bad report. God is not able to do it, he said. These guys are, multiple times, you'll see it's their great height, and they're stronger than we are. Well, what happens if you venture into the land of the boogeyman? Well, it devours the people there. So this is scary stuff. We're afraid. Number 2, most people are limited by only seeing realm 3. There's the 10 spies. It's your choice what lens you use. You can choose a small lens that focuses on realm 3 and can't see the higher spirit world realm 2 or realm 1. And you're going to see that's what these guys do. They're focused on that. So Numbers 14 now, next chapter. Only do not rebel against the Lord. This is Joshua and Caleb. Do not fear, do not fear, do not fear the people of the land. Why are you looking through a small lens of nothing but realm 3? They will be our prey. Their protection has been removed from them, and the Lord, Yahweh, is with us. There it is again. Do not fear them. So Yahweh is with us. Do not fear them, because we're looking at realm 1, which is Yahweh. Why should we not fear them? Because Yahweh is with us. That's why it doesn't matter who's on the other side. Well, here's another reason, though. Yahweh is with us, but for a reason. They will be our prey. That's 3 dudes understand that. Moses, who wrote the book in Deuteronomy 30, he understands it. Joshua and Caleb understand it. Why? Why will the giants be prey? What does it say? Oh, there it is. It was right in front of us and we missed it. Their protection has been strengthened. Removed. So God just moved the giants out of there. He didn't? What did he do? Their protection. Realm 2. The sons of God. Elohim, not little demons, big dudes. Had legal jurisdiction given by Yahweh. When? Babel. Over this territory called the property of Israel. But now it's been removed. Yahweh is the one in charge. He is always sovereign. He is with us. Do not fear them. They're realm 2 that you don't see, but the 3 of us do. Remember what God told Abraham more than 400 years ago? The sins of the Amorite has not yet reached its full measure. So you're going to come back to this land and take it, but not yet. You're going to go into captivity in Egypt. God has a timeline. He knows what's doing. They still had legal authority, realm 2 did, for another 400 years. But it's going to come to an end. And do you think that irritates the realm 2 beings when they get kicked out of the way by God? Do you see tension in that area of property called Israel today by realm 2 that's irritated for getting kicked out of there? Oh, that helps me see the cosmic geography of what's going on. But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. And there we see congregation, and that's Israel. So is that every exact one of them? Well, no, there's 3 guys that are with God. But see, does all mean all the time? No. People will say that, but that's never true. The whole group doesn't, but it's telling you in context. It's not that hard. I'm just pointing out, people will say every means every time, all means all every time. Well, no, it doesn't. There's at least 3 guys that do not pertain to this. I'm just pointing out something so simple because people make doctrines out of words like all and every. But all the congregation said to stone who? Moses, Joshua, Caleb with stones. But then the glory of the Lord appeared. And when the glory of the Lord, people die. Uh-oh. Maybe that stoning's not a good idea. Number 3, only true champions focus on the interaction between all realms. Fools focus on realm 3. You can't see what you're not thinking about. It's outside your frame of reference, outside your lens. Only champions see realm 1 primarily and how it interacts with realm 2. Losers focus on realm 3. So this is what they're looking at. Yeah, their protection has been removed. Notice it doesn't matter what's across the battlefield in realm 3. That's irrelevant. They understand it's what's going on in realm 1 and 2. So they understand because Moses wrote the book about territorial geography and cosmic geography and the sons of God, the Elohim, over territories given that by God. God is over all, but they have that legitimately over all the earth. But God is sovereign over everything. And I only wrote 7 lines here because I didn't want to make 70, just 1/10. Romans 4. Let's see if he talks about this because we're studying Romans. Let's go to Romans 4, 17. 16 and 17. So that's the middle paragraph. This is why it depends on faith. Whole thing in Romans 4 is about Abraham and faith. That's why it depends on faith in order that the promise may be on grace and guaranteed. Why is our promise guaranteed? Because it's Christ, it's faith, it's not us, to all his offspring. And here it's his religious faith offspring, not only to the adherent to the law, which would be a Jew, but also to the one who shares in the faith of Abraham, who is father of us all. Pause there. That's us as Israel by faith. Notice he'll be talking about genetic Israel, ethnic Israel, and by faith. Here it is, by faith. 17, as it is written, I, God, have made you, Abraham, the father of many nations, s plural. So the promise has many forms. There's the nation n singular, which is Israel. There's nations s plural, which is all of us who believe by faith. In the presence of the God in whom he, Abraham, believed. What God? Well, the God who gives life to the dead. Oh, Sarah's womb was dead. And all were given over to other Elohim, all the whole world as of that time, and calls into existence the things that do not exist. That is not a reference to creation. That is a reference to the generation of the nation of Israel that did not exist. There was no nation for Yahweh anywhere on the earth at that time, and then God makes it out of Abraham. So here you see the territory of Israel. How do they get to Israel? How do you survive the trip to the desert? Because that's whose turf? Azazel's turf. How do you survive that? Oh, realm 1 is leading you. You're safe in his turf right here. His turf is the whole world, yeah. But he's showing you, we're just going to waltz right through this and get to there. Those guys are going to be removed. So when is Israel born as a nation? It's not by the time you have Jacob. It's not by the time you have Joseph. It's as they leave Egypt, baptized through the water. Now they're a nation, but notice they're a nation without a land. But God's going to put them in this land. So he removes the realm 2 that had jurisdiction of that land. Now the sins of the Amorite, and the Amorites, very interesting as a concept, goes back to Babel. We're not going to chase that route, but that's notice how Babel, the mother of harlots, also shows up at Revelation. It's not just a tower, folks. It's a concept, just like Jezreel, just like Israel. So here is now the literal turf of Israel, and the sons of Israel put on it. You removed the Son of God, the Elohim, over that, and you insert Israel into that slot. Do you think that causes irritation to the realm 2 being who's opposed to God? Yes. Now we can make sense of the world as we think with cosmic geography and what's going on. All of that is underneath Yahweh, who is sovereign over everything. But yes, he gives authority for periods of time. Daniel 10. The prince, the Tsar of the kingdom of Persia, withstood me 21 days. But Michael, that's the one who's with Israel, realm 2 being, one of the chief princes, he came to help me, for I was left there with the kings of Persia. We don't need to delve into this. The whole point is just understanding there's realm 2 being in Persia. That's not a dude in realm 3. That's a spirit being. And notice this angelic being, it's most likely Gabriel. Don't think it's Christ here when you read this carefully, because he cannot require help. But could Gabriel penetrate? No, not for 3 weeks. How did he penetrate? Michael. Took us both to get through there. Cosmic geography, not powerful enough. Gabriel, Gabor, the mighty one of El, the high God, he couldn't penetrate that. That tells you that's a dude that has local, little s sovereignty. Over this time, it's Persia. And you'll see those gods shift around as it goes from Babylon to Persia to Greece to Rome. The deities themselves change. You see that in Isaiah 46. Very fascinating. We're just looking at this, saying there's different deities there that have jurisdiction. Michael has to help this one. And I've come to make you understand what has happened to your people in latter days, for the vision is for days yet to come. We're not going to chase that. It's just the point of looking at this and ask the question, where did Daniel get this idea? He just made it up. No? From God. And who wrote about it? Moses. Deuteronomy 32. Oh, yeah. Okay, we keep forgetting. Yeah, that's why Paul pings this over 10 times in Romans. If you don't understand this, you're not going to understand Romans. Number 4. The Bible is a cosmic meta-narrative. The Bible is a cosmic meta-narrative. Don't think it's the story of realm 3. You'll get lost. So here's Peleg. That's the time of Babel. Notice it takes 500 years. That's just to get to Joseph. That's not to have the nation of Israel. They got to be enslaved and all this, another 400. You got 1,000 years till you have a nation of Israel with a territory that was forcibly removed from the ones that God gave it to at Babel. 1,000 years. Takes 500 to get to Joseph. So Exodus 4 now, because we're kind of looking at what's the definition of Israel. You see what we're doing? It defies being a simple answer. We're trying to comprehend a concept. Then you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says Yahweh, Israel is what? My son, my firstborn. The first of any nation? No, there's all sorts of nations. The first of what type of nation? The first of any nation dedicated to Yahweh as their Elohim. Oh, preeminent one. So it primarily is meaning preeminent, but it can also mean the first. It was not the first nation, but it was made out of nothing because there was no nation following Yahweh at this time. So I said to you, there it is again, let my son go. So Israel is his son? Oh, metaphor. I keep forgetting things aren't literally in a box. I said, let my son go that he may serve me, but you have refused, Pharaoh. Therefore, I will kill your firstborn son. Realize who is included with the son. That same mixed multitude that chooses to follow Yahweh and leave. They're not all ethnic Israel. And just pointing that out because you'll miss it if you just read and don't think. Well, when was he born again? The baptism of the Red Sea, he's now a nation, but at this point, does the nation have a land? No, that's where they're going. And then, of course, the preeminent world force. It's like, imagine now we got 2. It sounds like we're moving a 3rd carrier into the Middle East. What if the nuke hits 3 carrier strike groups? The preeminent, now we would still be pretty high on the list, but the preeminent world power just got nailed. Well, that's what happened to Egypt. Hosea 11, so we've done a lot of Hosea, Jezreel. This is the prophet who marries the prostitute. We've done this one, but we're looking at the concept of Israel, defining it. When Israel was a youth, I loved him. Out of Egypt, I called my son. We just saw God's son is Israel. You see that? Do you see how you struggle if you don't understand metaphor? Because is that one little kid walking around? Or is it a nation? Oh, it's a nation. A mixed multitude. See, we're building. See that? We're trying to build and carry it along. We're not losing track of detail. When Israel was a youth, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. Now Matthew, New Testament, quotes this. Who does he reference it to? The Messiah. So, I didn't restash my candy. I'm running low. So Joseph got up and took, who's the child? The Messiah. And his mother, while it was still night, and left for Egypt. Egypt, later Babylon, chaos, resistance, opposed to Yahweh. It's not just a place, it's a concept. He took the child and goes down to Egypt because Herod's trying to kill everybody. They remained there until the death of the guy trying to kill them all, Herod. Remember, he was an Edomite. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet. Out of Egypt I called my son. Is he quoting that? Well, who's this pertain to? No, this pertains to Israel. But who does it actually pertain to? The Messiah. What? What? I'm so confused. That's what God's doing all the time. Don't stick with a literal stick and a literal rock and think that's what you're dealing with. It's metaphor. You have to be able to move and graduate from this level up to that level. Who is he talking about with the child? It's the Messiah, his son. Oh. Now, we all know Jesus is the Son of God, but realize that is prophetically fulfilling Israel being born out of Egypt. So who's the Son of God? Yes, it's both of them. Israel. Well, how about the servant of the Lord? Now, I'm going to preempt it this way so you know who this passage in Isaiah is going to talk about. It'll be easy. But it's not going to be easy if you just read the passage. And so this is an example of daily reading, not trying to study something. So study stuff, but do daily reading. Daily reading, I'm in a covenant group with a bunch of young 25-year-old guys. We were talking about service is how God elevates you after service. Christ washing feet, disciples. And we read this passage in Isaiah. Now, I even used this same passage at the end of it. It's a decent chapter. At the end is Gentiles coming back to Messiah, but bowing down at the feet of Israel. And we did that last week. You probably forgot. But we did that last week. And then, I went back to the same chapter and things that I didn't pay attention to because I was looking at Israel regathering. Out of 7 guys in the covenant group, 3 of them are like, what in the world is this passage talking about? I am so confused. That's what you would think too when you read it. Now, I already told you about the suffering, or the servant's going to move into the suffering servant in chapter 53. But listen to me, O islands, pay attention, you peoples from afar. Is this talking to Israel? No, distant Gentiles. The world. Listen to me, you distant Gentiles out there, beginning of the chapter. At the end of this chapter, notice they're the ones coming back to Yahweh, bowing down to Israel. Thank you for the salvation. That's not replacement theology. Yahweh called me from the womb. From the body of my mother, he named me. Was Jesus named while in the womb? Yes. Isaac was. Was Jacob? No. Just pointing that out. Yahweh, has made my mouth, like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand, he has concealed me. He has also made me a select arrow, hidden me in his quiver. I am the Messiah. Now I'm inserting that. I am the Messiah. Realm 2 doesn't quite understand what's going on, but what happens, wham. It's going to, my death on the cross, had they knew they wouldn't have put him to death, they're going to be demolished. But they don't understand because it's hidden, it's concealed. He said to me, you are my servant, Israel, in whom I will show my glory. Well, who's the servant?
Jesus.
Well, no, it's Israel. You're right. But a hyper-literal dude will realize who is the servant being spoken to. Israel. Wait a minute. It's clearly messianic. So if you just read this, you will be confused. All these dudes in the covenant group are like, what is this passage even meaning? Because that's only the first 3 verses. From the body of my mother, he named me, a detail. Oh, wait. Who has a mouth with a sharp sword? We know from future revelation that that's the Messiah, but you wouldn't know that if you just read Isaiah. Who is being talked about? It's my servant. Well, who is it? It's Israel. It's the nation of Israel. It's a people group. It's a territory. It's confined to literal Israel. Well, no, wait a minute. He said to me. Now notice NASB capitalizes these pronouns. It really helps you. Well, who's speaking to who?
Yahweh to Jesus.
Oh, my worldview is monotheism, so strict it doesn't realize a trinity, which is 3 in 1, and it doesn't realize there are 2 powers in heaven. This is Judaism. That's a heresy by the 2nd century AD, but it's in old Judaism. 2 powers in heaven, no problem. Until you realize the dots connect, well, that's the Messiah that we reject. No, now it's a heresy. 2nd century AD. Yahweh speaking to Yahweh. If your worldview can't comprehend that, you're going to be very confused when you read this. Then we just go on to the next verse. And now says Yahweh, who, there it is again. Now says Yahweh, who formed me, Yahweh 1 to Yahweh 2, 2 powers, from the womb to be his servant. Well, to do what? To bring Jacob back to him so that Israel might be gathered to him. For I am honored in the sight of the Lord, and my God is my strength. What's his mission?
Bring him back.
To bring back, well, I thought it was Israel. How does Israel bring Israel back? Oh, the hyperliteral guy, it's Israel. You see what we're doing here? Yes, it's Israel, but it is actually, metaphorically, Messiah. It is not the nation of Israel, the people of Israel, because he's bringing Jacob. Well, who is Jacob? That's Israel. Israel is bringing Israel back. How does that happen? Because Israel is metaphorically, it's Jesus Christ. It's the Messiah who's bringing Israel, the nation, back. But you're going to be wandering around if you don't comprehend that. Who is who? Yahweh the Father is speaking to Yahweh the Son. You're on a mission, son. Get my people back. They have rejected me. No, that's translation, and a lot of them won't put it there, like ESV or NIV won't. And so you'll watch people that are late, and I'm going to show you an example where it throws it off too. But it typically is trying to help you see a divine pronoun. But that's not original. See, context is always the key, but you have to understand the context. And we'll show one here where I can't remember which translation is. It actually throws you off. Do our glasses realize there's 2 Yahwehs? And then there's the Holy Spirit. That's a Trinity. Do we realize that? And do we realize things can go beyond the concrete literal into metaphor? God is always wanting us to graduate from the 5-year-old range here of concrete up to understanding metaphor, but don't just allegorize everything. Understand the context. What is allegorized and what's not. He says, so Yahweh the Father says to Yahweh the Son, it is too small of a thing for you, Jesus. See, if I put it in like that, it makes it easier. That you should be my servant, the suffering servant, to raise up the tribe of Jacob and restore the preserved ones, the remnant. You notice that's not all, but to preserve the remnant ones of Israel. There it is, tribes of Jacob, Israel. You are, notice twice Israel is being brought back in. That can't be the agent of bringing themselves back. So it's an external agent, which is Christ, the Messiah. I will also, it's too little for you, Yahweh, the Son, the Messiah. It's too little that you simply bring back Israel. What does the promise encompass? All the Gentiles as well. Notice who he started talking about at the beginning of this passage. I will make you a light of the nations. That was what Israel failed to do, but was supposed to do. The nation of Israel. That my salvation may reach the end of the earth. So he's talking about Gentiles and salvation. And what's the vehicle used to bring them? Through Israel. Number 5. Isaiah describes the Messiah as Israel. And so does Hosea and Matthew. The servant of Yahweh with a cosmic mission. Cosmic mission. What is his mission? Seek and save the lost sheep of Israel, and then we will get to the Gentiles. Even though there was already Gentiles at the beginning of Israel. Oh, fascinating. I think God's a few steps ahead of us. Do our glasses allow us to see that? Or is if you read that Isaiah 49 and you think Israel has to be ethnic, national Israel country boundary, oh, you're going to be having a heck of a time wrestling with that. There's two Yahwehs, and there's metaphor, and there's meaning like Jezreel, David, Israel, Babylon. There is meaning that goes far beyond this little geography. We did this the other week. Jesus, the stumbling stone. Well, he's the cornerstone. The cornerstone of what? Of a temple. Yeah, tear down this temple in 3 days, I'll build it up. Opposition. It took 46 years to build this. You're going to build it up in 3 days? Metaphor. My body is the temple, and there's going to be a temple, but do we have to rebuild a temple? No. Get to Revelation. What is the temple at the very end? Oh, Jesus and God, the two Yahweh figures, are the temple, and he tells you very clear there is no temple at the end of Revelation. Why did I think a temple had to be a structure? Because I'm a concrete thinker. We put ourselves in a box, and we wonder why we're in a box. Well, because we put those glasses on, and yes, there is one God, but it's a complex concept, and there's multiple Elohim. The Bible never teaches monotheism. That doesn't come to the Middle Ages. But you think monotheism, only one, and then two Yahweh speaking to it, and you're confused. You see that? So I'm not preaching polytheism, but don't put yourself in a box that Scripture doesn't teach. So we went to this a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to repeat it. This is in honor of Dr. Matt Borg. Who is Jezreel? Now, who is Jezreel? The kid born to the prophet Hosea and his wife Hagar, the prostitute. That's who is Jezreel. Okay, change the question. What is Israel? Or Jezreel? You see that? Concept, metaphor. It's a location. It's a location in northern Israel. It's a defensive structure. It's a fortress. It's a valley. Hooks into Megiddo. It is the northern boundary of Israel from all the guys that come in the north, i.e. Assyria. And they are defeated there, and that's the downfall eventually of the north of Israel. That is where bad things happen. You've got people like Ahab and Jezebel taking the vineyard, and it's going to come back in your own head in the same spot. Dogs are going to eat your blood. God sees everything. And then that's where king lines come to an end, such as the line of Ahab, such as the line of Jehu. So what happens here comes back to here, but it's also the seed that God sowed. And you can't see how it comes to fruition because it's down in the ground. But Jezreel, where Israel, Ephraim, the north is divorced, is where there's going to be restoration back. Is it simply a location? Or is it a very deep concept, just like Babylon? Don't think it's a place merely. Okay, change it. What is Israel? So put that, because that's what we're pursuing, we're going to put that away. We're going to come back to Israel in a minute, because I'm going to change this question, because it's going to be a lot easier to see it this way. Is Jesus Adam, dirt, mankind, all of mankind, humankind, human, a human, or Adam, the dude in the garden? So, is Jesus Adam, the guy in the garden? No. That's Adam. Oh, but wait. What are we told in the New Testament? The first Adam and the second, who's also the last. You'll have evolutionary guys try to say, no, he's the second and the last. There can be no other. You'll have other Christian dudes talk about Noah being, Noah's not an Adam. There's the first Adam and the second Adam. First one, notice what he does? Screws it up. What does the second one do? Solves it. And he's the last one. Nothing needs to come after him. So is Jesus Adam? Literally, no. Metaphorically, yes. Oh, now I'm learning how to think. Context will tell you there's a first Adam and a last Adam. So is Jesus totally equated and encapsulated and limited with the definition of Adam? Far bigger. So God is teaching you a literal thing so that you can graduate and move up to a bigger thing. Okay, how about this? Is Jesus David?
Son of David.
Yes, no. Notice he is the root, he comes before David, and he is the branch, he comes after. He's both. Yeah, exactly. There is a dude named David, and he solved all of the world's problems. No? Oh, no, why do I focus on a realm 3 dude? He ends up dying, and then you have David. The Messiah is called David multiple times in the Old Testament. Oh, yeah, just like Adam. It's a metaphor. So is Jesus literally David? No. Metaphorically, yes. Notice David fails and Christ succeeds. Peter tells us that in Acts 2. We've talked about this one a lot. You Jews rejected the Messiah. This is Jesus, the Christ, who came, died, resurrected. You've all seen it doesn't stop there. We're at Pentecost. That means it's after the ascension. He is now the Christ, the King. He's enthroned. You've rejected that. And there's David over there, dead, failure, human, dust. Not even resurrected here with the dudes that came up with Christ's resurrection, because he's already dust, he's already decayed. That's the point he's making. Done, dust, decayed, separate. Take your eyes off him. Even though he's a standard of all the kings, take your eyes off him and put him in realm 1, who died but did not decay. Cannot be held in the ground because he's a power of an indestructible life, and he comes up and not only is resurrected, but ascends and enthroned. Take your eye off realm 3, put it on realm 1 where it belongs. That's a synopsis of Peter's sermon. Well, how about this? Is Jesus Israel? I just showed you he is, but he's not. Literally, is he Israel? No. Metaphorically, is he? Yes. Did Israel complete its mission of being a vineyard, of being the light to all the Gentiles? No. Are they rejected by God? Yes. Is it permanent? No. Does he bring them back? Yes. Who completes it? Oh, the Messiah. So is he Israel? No, but yes. Literally no, metaphorically yes. You see the pattern? And now we can graduate from concrete literalism up to comprehending concepts. So we did that to understand Jesus, because it's very easy to see realm 1 to realm 3. Now let's go back to Israel. Well, who's Israel? Because I want to know how to bless Israel so I can be blessed, because I focus on my blessing in realm 3. Well, we're not going to answer that question today. We're just looking at who is Israel. And here's the list. You can blame my wife for this. You've got Jacob, the dude who was born. And what was his other name? Israel. It can be a nation. That nation can involve a land. You have to extract and remove other realm 2 to get that land. And then there are dry bones. These dry bones are the nation of Israel. They are the nation of Israel. Dry bones, Ezekiel 37, being restored. Oh yeah, they were dead and gone. And now look, 1948. The vineyard, yes, they're also a vineyard. A literal vineyard? No, you don't drink wine from it, but it's supposed to nourish and reach out to the failed. Notice the vineyard was not burned. The vine keepers, the dressers are removed. The leadership of Israel is not destroyed and replaced. Oh, it's a dachshund. Yeah, the beginning of Isaiah chapter 1. You can translate another word for donkey if you want, but the dumb beast knows its master. But you, Israel, don't know me. A dumb ox or a donkey. I'm trying to get you to move along here, and you're a stubborn, dumb ox. It's a heavy stone. Do we see this today? This is Zechariah. This is eschatological for the very end time. Do you see today that dealing with Israel is a heavy stone? Oh, yeah, it's obvious. Well, they're also clay. And the remnant realizes you are the potter. Notice that's not an individual. That's not an individual's destiny. It's national. So we, Israel, the remnant, comes to realize we are the clay. But that took 3 bouts of the pottery. We've done that in detail. This could be people inside the land that's part of the nation, inside the boundaries of geography of Israel. It could be those outside in the diaspora who are out, but they're still Israel. It could be Ephraim. That's the youngest son of Joseph, by God elevated to be the chief one. And so that means the north. It could be parts of a nation. So Ephraim could be parts of a nation, and you'll have all of Israel doing this. In this case, let's say following one king, but other Israel who's down in Judah following a different king. All of Israel and Israel, 2 different parts of the same nation. It could be the agent of the promise, God's promise of the Messiah. The agent of that is Israel. Israel is the Son of God. We just read that. Israel is a bride. But while on the honeymoon, it's a harlot. Doesn't stay with her husband. And I'm putting Yahweh here intentionally. This would be us, the second Yahweh, believers in Christ. The church is Israel. Leaders opposing Yahweh is Israel, or Jews. That was like the Judaism guys. Saul, before he's Paul, opposing Yahweh, not realizing what the second Yahweh is doing. The servant of Yahweh, Old Testament. Israel is the servant. An ethnic mix, the mixed multitude who chose to leave Egypt to worship Yahweh, is encompassed with Israel. So that's 25. I got up this morning at 4 o'clock and had a bunch of this going through my head, and it's like, wow, this is fast. So I didn't get this from some theologian. I'm just thinking of concepts, and it's pretty easy to find, and I know there's going to be more. Is there anything else that is Israel that should sum it up that we just read today? Oh, notice how we always forget realm 1? Is the Messiah Israel? Yes, we just read it in a metaphorical sense. Oh, did he stumble and fail? No. What does Israel mean in Hebrew? The what? Governed or struggles with? Oh. Can you be governed by somebody you struggle with? A lot of us do, huh? I love every political person. I love to serve. Or do we struggle a little bit? So Israel, the name means, it comes from to struggle, and God. To struggle. And so we always look at this as Jacob struggled with God and prevailed. That doesn't mean he won. And no angel has wings. Other creatures do, but the messenger angels of Malek do not have wings. And the Son of God, the second Yahweh, does not have wings, but this is just the art. So they're struggling, and did Jacob win? No, just touch his hip, he's out. You're struggling with, this is Yahweh the Son he's with here, when you do all the detail on it. It's not an angel. Now, who wins? It's not that Jacob wins, it's that he perseveres, but he can just touch his hip and he's done. But notice there's two sides to every coin. We focus on realm 3. Jacob, now your name is Israel. Why is your name Israel? From this event, because you struggled with God. So your name means he who struggles with God, but the name means struggle and God. Flip the coin around. Does God struggle with you, you dumb ox? Oh yeah. There's Israel. Do you think we fit into that? You dumb ox, I'm trying to have you. Well, I am a dumb ox. Yeah, that's the point. We're realm 3 failures. The promise, however, is not obligated to be constrained by our ineptness or our rebellion. The promise will move forward. And you see it in the name of Israel. It's not just Jacob struggling with Yahweh. It's Yahweh's going to struggle with the dumb ox called realm 3 humans. It's not just him, it's us. Oh, oops. So you can watch this concept. At least Ted Cruz understands the big picture. Bless it, even though he's clueless how to figure it out, he at least understands the big picture, whereas aggressive alienation and anger towards Israel totally only understands very well part of the story of Israel. We might stop at, let's just say, Hosea chapter 13 and forget 14 and the restoration, the seed, what you don't see now, because it's a seed, but God's not done. So chapters 9, 10, and 11 is all about Paul writing about ethnic Israel. Because they're not saved, we have to conclude, if your conclusion is different from Paul. So notice, replacement theology will conclude differently than Paul. Let's go to 11:33. End of 11. Notice this is the end. So we're not here yet. I'm just showing we have to see the end so we know where to go. Oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments and how inscrutable. Inscrutable means cannot be comprehended. His ways. Talking about what? Ethnic Israel, who should be saved, but they're not, and they're rejecting God. if we don't at the end of the day conclude, holy smokes, what God is doing with Israel is far more complicated than I thought. Far more complicated than I thought means it cannot fit in a box very well. If we don't realize that at the outset when we're trying to understand Israel, we're going to be wandering in the desert, mentally. So now let's move to family. So that's fascinating with Israel. So all of that was in one word that Paul put there. And so this is review, but there's a lot of concepts here. And so we have to keep hitting them to have them. You notice how things start to stick and it builds over time? If someone walks into this class fresh, they're going to be lost because there's so much background. Now family in the context here is legal movement of people, but the concept of family, Ephraim, Israel, the north, is God's firstborn. This is Jeremiah 31. New covenant's going to come. Well, who does Israel include again? Mixed multitude from the beginning. Ephraim from the beginning includes Gentiles. It's a very interesting how his whole thing is. That's going to be later on. I'm just planting a bunch of seeds here. But we saw the nation of Israel includes the mixed multitude coming out of Egypt. Hosea. So we've done a lot of Hosea. We've done this one before. We're just going to repeat it. The number of the sons of Israel, that's what we're talking about is Israel. But we're thinking family here because realize God's family was removed from him at Babel. The cosmic geography whole big picture is that movement coming back. Babel existed before Israel. Babel existed before Israel. It's not limited to Israel. The sons of Israel, although like the sand of the sea, cannot be numbered or measured, in that place, we know that's Jezreel, where it was said to them, you are not my people, I have divorced you. So he divorced everybody at Babel. 1,000 years, or more than 1,000 years later, he divorces specifically Ephraim, Israel, at Jezreel. Gone, done, no mercy, lo ami, not my people. It will be said to them in that same place, it will be said, the seed, the future, you are the sons of the living God. Family. Does this include Gentiles? Yes, we know Ephraim does, and yes, we know Israel does. But in the book of Hosea, the context is he's specifically talking about Ephraim, not Gentiles, although we all know they're in there. But it's about Ephraim coming back. And now let's go to 9:24 to 25. Bottom of page 42. Even us, whom he has called. Us, notice Paul includes himself in us, which is not from Jews only, but also from the Gentiles. As indeed, he says in Hosea, those who are not my people, I will call my people. Those who are not beloved, I'll call beloved. And there you see the passage. Paul, obviously lumps us Gentiles in with what is not stated in Hosea as coming back to God's family via Ephraim. And Ephraim specifically is going to close a lot of other loops as we build to it. So I'm just we're not solving that whole riddle yet, but I'm just pointing it out now so it's not so foreign once we get to completing it. So that was all about Israel. The rest will go faster. The adoption. Well, what does adoption mean? The what? I was hoping someone would have it that way because a lot of times we'll talk about adoption, simply the joining of one, but it's the removal of one into another. That's the key part of adoption. Adoption definitions. Anyone who joins a family through a legal adoption process. So it's talking about family, moving from family, and it's a legal situation. Okay, here's another. Wikipedia solves everything. It's a biological legal parent. Well, moving from one who has either legal or biologic authority from them to another. Number 6. Adoption is the legal transfer away from the authority, the legal authority of one family to another family. The big concepts there are it's legal, it's authority, and it's from A to B. You don't move to B, you move from A to B. You can't have adoption without removal. Key point. Here's Romans 8. Life in the Spirit. Look, it's adoption. The spirit of, this is a whole chapter. The spirit of adoption, there it is, adoption as sons. Oh, we're children of God. So we were slaves back in Romans 6. Now we're children. Heirs, heirs of God. And this includes Gentiles. Fellow heirs with Christ. Oh, we don't just move up into sonship. We move into his heir. Wow. That we may be glorified. The creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of this. It hasn't happened all the way yet. Awaits our resurrection. The creation was subject to futility. All creation is subject to futility, but it's in hope, the confident expectation that creation itself will be set free. Confident expectation of Yahweh, that his plan will be that all creation is set free from bondage to corruption, from the fall, and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. Focus here. Adoption as sons. So we read Romans 8, we celebrate, and we have a party. Here's the question. Away from what? If you don't understand Deuteronomy 32, you can't answer that question. And you just, boy, I'm so glad God adopted me. Well, away from what legal authority? From what he placed in Deuteronomy 32. At Babel. Do you notice Babylon, the great harlot? Oh, pulling people away from Yahweh. Showing up again at the end. Concept, not a localized geography. Okay, how about the glory? Yeah, we already talked about this. Why did Egypt not go in and whoop the rear ends of Israel? Because realm one's in the way, and they're afraid, big time fear. We're not going through that. And then, how is it that they safely traversed the territory of Azazel in the desert to get to the promised land? He didn't remove Azazel, by the way. He removed the legal territory of Israel. The desert ain't Israel. It still has a legal authority there. Yeah, but he's merely realm 2. You got that. Better stay within eyeshot of it. You'd be on somebody else's turf. Well, then Moses wants to see the glory. Can man see the full glory of God? No. And you don't see the face of God. You see the back of God, and you see the goodness of God, not the glory of God. Does Moses. If you see the full glory, you're going to die. Well, how on earth does Abraham have a meal with Yahweh and 2 angels and not see his face? Oh, John 1:18. Yahweh, the Son, the second Yahweh, has revealed. He has been seen in the Old Testament and the New. You have a conversation with which Yahweh? Yahweh the Son, not Yahweh the Father. That's how you solve it. It's very simple once you realize there's 2 Yahwehs. Jeremiah 2. Therefore, I bring charges against you again, declare, you don't like it when God starts this way, you're in trouble. And against your children, my grandchildren? Cross over the coast of Cyprus and look to Kedar, that's from Edom, but observe closely. Go as far as you can to the east, as far as you can to the west. See if anything has ever been done like this. Okay, there's something very interesting. Has a nation ever changed its Elohim? Well, it's a rhetorical question coming from Yahweh. No. He's saying, go look from the east to the west. Has any nation rejected the Elohim I put over it at Deuteronomy 32? From Babel. No. Yet they are not gods. Here you're confused by the translation. They are not Elohim. This is Elohim, that's Elohim. This should be capital G God. Has any nation changed its gods who are not Yahweh? Has any nation ever changed its gods? No, they're under their authority, and those gods won't let them out. But, but my people, Israel, have exchanged their glorious God for worthless idols. And this glorious God doesn't actually have Elohim in it. It's just kavod, which is glory. It's later that they move it to Shekinah. The original Hebrew is kavod, the glory. My people have seen the glory. Sometimes that's all it says for God. My people, did they actually see at least some of the glory of God? Yeah, wandered around. But did they want him or did they want other Elohim? Oh, that's just like people at Babel. We don't want Yahweh, we want other Elohim. Number 7. Israel exchanged their glorious God for worthless idols. Their glorious God. You could just put they exchanged their glory. They saw the glory but rejected it. So now we'll conclude by just looking at the law and promise. So the covenants, There's multiple covenants. Abraham, you have the land, you have the nation, and singular, that's Israel. You have the nations as plural, and you're going to have your seed will conquer the gates of his enemies, talking about Christ over realm 2 at the end, and Jesus loops himself into that in the New Testament. Then you have the Mount Sinai and the law. Then you have the Davidic covenant. So you will have another David, the Messiah David, who will sit on the throne of David for eternity. And then you have the new covenant where God will put his spirit in us in Jeremiah 31. And at the end of the day, Yahweh is unique because he makes covenants. He spells out the terms. Other Elohim don't spell out the terms. You're not sure what you violated. And he is unique because we fail. We don't live up to the terms. He puts his wrath on himself. His wrath is not dismissed. So he not only makes a spelled out covenant, but when we fail, he doesn't just punish us. He takes the payment for us. That is a unique Elohim. You won't find any mythology that does that. Number 8, Yahweh is a unique Elohim. And then there's the law. We did this last week. What is the purpose of the law again? To point to Christ. It's all about the promise. Realm 1, the promise will move forward, and it will lead to the Messiah. That is the promise. He is the telos in the Greek. That's in Romans 10:4, the end, the purpose, the whole reason for the law. So the law is not the end, it's not the solution. It's to point us towards the Messiah. Our response is the question. Do we bow our knee or do we raise our fist? So it's all about Christ and his event at the cross, and it's not about the law. Hebrews 10 tells us it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sin. The law is obsolete. The principles don't go away. There's eternal principles here, but dealing with the law goes away because Christ totally fulfills it, and the law is a tutor, a temporary thing. Number 9, true or false, the Levitical sacrificial system was designed to solve the problem of sin. False. Why do we somehow think it does? Notice how you grow up thinking the sacrifices led to life, to eternal life, not just you survive moving into him in the glory area. You're taking your eyes off Rome 1, putting it on yourself. Well, the worship. Yes, we're going to worship. Now, the law, notice what we just said, taking your eyes off Rome 1. What does it mean to sacrifice? Here's how we grow up. I have 10 sheep. I must sacrifice one. Kill him. I went from 10 to what? 9. I reduced my flock. I gave a gift to God. Boy, he's lucky I did that, and I just impoverished myself. I reduced. Notice we think of I'm going to sacrifice this, or we might play chess. I'm going to sacrifice a pawn to take your rook. A reduction. That's not what sacrifice means. Sacrifice means to make sacred. Number 10. Sacrifice means to make sacred. It does not mean to deplete. And it does not mean, here, Old Testament worship. How do you worship? You must sacrifice. You must make sacred. What are you doing? You are not simply just giving God a gift. You are trying to enter into communion with Yahweh, but you will die because you cannot survive that experience. To make sacred is simply to ceremonially, you didn't deal with sin. Yes, I realize sin things are involved. That's not what you're doing. You're ceremonially wiping off and cleaning ritual impurity so you survive the trip moving closer to the glory, to worship. You're making yourself sacred so you don't die. Go read especially Leviticus and just circle every time you see that you might die, and ask yourself, what is the dude doing that he might die? And it'll even have things that no way have to do with sin. It might be touching a dead body of your parent. That's not a sin. Yeah, but you're ceremonially unclean and you will die. You must sacrifice. You must be made sacred so you don't die in the trip to worship Yahweh. It's a whole different concept than we have nowadays. And then 12:1 in Romans, present our bodies as a living sacrifice to make holy. Well, now the holy space is in us. We don't have to venture to it. So given that gift, we should logically now try to serve him. Then promises. There's a promise. Genesis 3:15, crush the head of the serpent. Promises of God. There's a bloodline that goes to the Messiah. It's not about any other human king, going through Abraham and then to David. And then you have the promised land. I've just highlighted the Nephilim clans there. And so don't look at realm 3, but notice that intrusion by Satan goes to pollute and destroy the bloodline and to protect the land that God said they would have. And you had 400 years to prepare. Beautiful strategy, but it didn't work. And then by the time of David, the man after God's own heart, he eradicates the rest of the Nephilim. Here's just some questions I know to make us think. Why? Notice whys always stink, because then you have to think. Why did Yahweh bring Israel out of Egypt? So we're going to look at that. Leviticus 22. You shall not profane my holy name, but I will be sanctified among the sons of Israel. I am Yahweh who sanctifies you, who brought you out from the land of Egypt. Okay, good. So why did God bring them out of the land of Egypt? To be your God. No, you're right. We'll get there, but why? I brought you out, I am Yahweh, I brought you out of Egypt to be my Elohim. Notice the mixed multitude buys that. Okay, great. So you want to be our Elohim. Why does God want to be Israel? Oh, another why. Now you had it, because it's all about reversing what happened at Babel. That's the mechanism. Through Israel, we're going to have the restoration of the family. We have to understand the big picture meta-narrative of the story. It's all about the promise of realm 1 moving forward, and it's moved forward through Israel. So there's the promise that ends to the Messiah that comes from Israel. Israel, the nation and the people of Israel, is the vehicle for the promise to happen. It is not the promise, but it's the vehicle of the promise. And what does their name mean? The dumb ox that God is struggling with. Look at it from that side of the coin, not from Jacob's side of the coin. The dumb, resistant failure ox still can't prevent the promise moving forward. God's dragging that ox through time. Number 11. Yahweh brought Israel out of Egypt to be their Elohim. They are the vehicle, or the tool, or the agent, the vehicle that he uses to move his promise forward. It's all about the promise. It helps me to think of all of us, don't just look at Israel, being the dumb ox that he's pulling towards the water. And then there's the patriarchs. Of course, that's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So how are the patriarchs related to the promise? We just did it. They're the vehicle. They're the vehicle of the promise. It's not about the patriarchs, it's about the promise. It's not about the mail truck, it's about the nice letter in the mail truck. What's the pinnacle of all this? Whole paragraph 1, and then we finish it with this. What is the pinnacle? All these 8 things? Oh, realm 1. It's all about the Christ. The Christ who is God. That's it. Number 12. It is critical to recognize the key character of cosmic geography. And it's the concept of realm 1. Yahweh the Father, Yahweh the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's all about Christ. So here, I know that was a lot of stuff, and it kept adding. Even this morning I added stuff, so I apologize for that. I'm realizing how hard it is to cram stuff in a box. We looked at Israel. Then we looked at family, especially the concept of adoption, which you can't look at half of that coin either, which is simply joining one family. You have to realize the removal of authority from the prior family. And then the law and promise. Here's some questions. How would you define Israel? Notice we're not even answering what it means to bless Israel. We're just, even what is Israel? I just gave you 20 plus Christ is 21. Family. Explain the movements of people in and out of God's family, both Jew and Gentile. Law and the promise. How does the purpose of the law fit within the promise, with the law pointing to the promise? Notice all 3 of these include all 3 realms. And so if your answer is a realm 3 answer, you get an F. You got to wrestle with it a little bit. So if you want to take off, go ahead and leave. If you want to take 3 minutes in a table group to pick one of those, go ahead and pick one and debate it. And if you need to leave, that's go ahead, because I know we're taking a while. But Just pick one and talk about it if you're going to stick around. Oh, I wasn't warmed up. I tried to make you pay for that one. No, I just, with that candy. Well, why don't we, because you can stay if you want afterwards, but let's just do a quick recap. Did anyone do anything other than number one? Or did you all stick on one?
We didn't have time.
Yeah, and you don't have time. When we were in college, my wife would always get so mad with math and say, what's the answer? And it's like, no, we need to work through it so you don't have to do your homework all the time. But at the end of the day, I don't know what the answer is yet. I'm still working through it. And I think that's a good spot. Don't start with a creed to make your answer. I don't know enough to give an answer. That's my answer. But is it amazing to you to think concrete? I think what I'm going to do next week is take a detour from Romans and simply look at how do we move from concrete literal to be tethered to truth, but understand how to graduate to metaphor, but don't over-allegorize. And I have an idea of how to do it. And so I think it would be a good time because I don't want people to think that I'm teaching everything is allegorical. But if you are stuck in concrete, you can't move. You're stuck in concrete. And you can't move and you can never graduate. And then you'll see there's a lot of creeds that are based on concrete realism. And they can't, in concrete, you're not seeing higher realms. So that's why the visual thinking of the realms is so helpful. Let's pray and get moving. Dear Lord, I thank you for loving us. Thank you that your word is living and active and powerful and sharper than anything we can imagine. And I just pray that we'll be students who want to be like Paul and end up concluding with a question such as, Israel is a heavy stone. It's not a light pebble. It's not a simple thing. We want it simple so we can control it. Lord, help us to bow before your word and conclude like Paul. Whoa, the word of God is so inscrutable, I had no idea. Help us to excitedly pursue that and not our own preconceived notion that's small. Amen. Well, have a great day.